distinguished guests, His Excellency, the Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by commending His Excellency, President Dion, whose guiding vision ensured the Prime Minister, His Excellency, and Head of Government, Chief Joseph Dion Ngute, a kind man. He was very generous with his dear wife last night when I was received. Thank you very much, sir. The President of Cameroon Employers Association, my brother, friend, and fellow entrepreneur, Celestine Kawamba, and his team, who convened this inaugural edition of the Cameroon Economic Meetings. This is a significant development and quite timely, a gathering that will serve as a platform for shaping the future of Cameroon's economy. It is an honor to attend, and I believe in transformation and turnaround. I have experienced this in my own business career. I believe that those lessons are no less applicable to countries and economies. Indeed, for Africa to succeed, for Cameroon to succeed, government and business need to unite to invest for the long term, not just the short term, and for all to be strategic, intentional, and purposeful. Ladies and gentlemen, just last week in Abuja, last weekend actually, our energy business, Els Energies, which is the fastest growing indigenous integrated energy business on our continent, conveyed ministers, senior civil servants, and our peers to chart how we can all unite to boost oil and gas production in Nigeria. It was a celebration of unity, a practical example of how, with a committed and engaged government, a sector can be transformed, how an economy can be transformed. I welcome such initiatives across Africa, and particularly in Cameroon as a fellow energy-producing country. I started life as a junior banker. I built a bank, United Bank for Africa. But that bank is now just one of a broad portfolio which encompasses power generation, power distribution, upstream oil and gas that feeds our power, healthcare, hospitality, real estate, technology, and of course, financial services. Multiple sectors, all with one aim, and the aim is the rejuvenation of the African economy and ultimate contribution to the economic independence of our continent. Like our group, Cameroon needs to envision, build capacity, diversify its economy to turn things around and to execute at scale. Cameroon should, indeed must, play a key role in development of African economy as a major exporter of natural resources and agricultural produce. However, we still have a long way to go to unlock the numerous opportunities that await us in the global trade discourse. I salute the realism and pragmatism of this forum. I commend this powerful speech by the President. It resonated to a large extent, most of the things he was saying, especially when he said people should know what drives the thinking of policymakers. why are budgets prioritized the way they are prioritized? And why do employers and business leaders make decisions the way they make decisions? I believe, from my experience, that these are very critical imperatives in understanding how to fashion the way forward for economic revitalization. I say this with the conviction, born out of my experience as an investor and entrepreneur. As the chairman of ES Holdings, our multi-sector investment portfolio with investments in energy, financial services, healthcare, technology, real estate, hospitality, spread across 4 continents. I say this as an economist also, and as the founder of the leading entrepreneurship-focused philanthropy in Africa, the Tony Elumelu Foundation. In my second home, Cameroon is my second home. In Cameroon alone, over 10 years, we have funded, mentored, and trained 687 entrepreneurs, each giving $5,000 non-refundable seed capital. And the good news is that they have in turn created about 6,844 jobs and contributed over $139 million in revenue to this economy. I speak as the chairman of United Bank for Africa, an investor in Cameroon since 2008. Through UBA Cameroon, we employ over 1,000 men and women. We fund and facilitate and support Cameroon's infrastructure development. There's no more concrete example of our dedication to the Cameroon economy than UBA's financing of the magnificent Olympic Stadium. I am a firm believer in Afro-capitalism, the economic philosophy that guides my investments. It is the conviction that the private sector, and most importantly, our African businesses and entrepreneurs, hold the key to driving economic transformation on our continent. No one but us will develop our continent. If we do not invest in our continent, others will not have the confidence to invest in our continent. So we must stand and lead the way. Let's look, therefore, critically at the Cameroonian economy. In recent years, the Cameroonian economy has grown by a marginal 3 to 5% annually, indicating massive opportunities for scale. But this is commendable given that some countries, while post-COVID, have not even grown at this rate. But we should be more forward-looking and ambitious. Like many countries, Cameroon has faced economic challenges due to COVID-19 pandemic and the rising insecurity across our continent, and this has affected growth rate. But more critically, the loss of our youth via migration harms our economies on the continent and this potential. An economy that cannot deliver for an agile and creative youth population is a threat to all our futures. So our economy must be able to cater for the aspirations of our young ones. If we don't do that, we're creating a problem for ourselves and for our children. There are so many steps that should catalyze economic prosperity for Cameroonians, but let me focus on those factors that I believe are most impactful. We can sit here and talk about 100, but I just decided to have only 5 to talk about. First, security of lives and properties and rule of law. I believe very strongly that government's first role is the security of its citizens and the creation of an enabling environment that protects and supports property and investment. Peace, stability, and the rule of law are the most basic elements of that enabling environment. Once we have all of this in place, peace, stability, and rule of law, our economy will flourish again. So I commend this as one thing we should do, not just Cameroon, all across Africa, Nigeria everywhere. 2, infrastructure development. A key driver for economic development is infrastructure development. No economy can grow without reliable power. No economy can grow without modern roads. No economy can grow without efficient logistics and digital connectivity. Investing in transportation networks, digital connectivity, and smart infrastructure will enhance regional integration and reduce cost of doing business. Cameroon, with its strategic position in Central Africa, has the potential to be a major economic hub. But this can only happen with the right investment in infrastructure. And when I say this, it's a call on all of us, not just government, private sector, friends of Africa, global investors, global private capital, and of course government, all of us working together to improve infrastructure development in Africa. This is so critical if we must alleviate poverty, if we must create prosperity, and if we must stem the immigration of our young ones under harsh and severe conditions to go to where they believe life is rosier. The third is youth empowerment. This is a key aspect of what we must do to develop grow our economy. Africa's greatest asset is our youth. With over 60% of our population under the age of 25, we must turn our demographic advantage to an economic advantage. Otherwise, it will spell doom for us. We have a crisis across the continent. The persistent and continuous brain drain fueled by migration is a critical issue we must tackle to develop our continent, because capacity building is critical for economic development. Now, I do not blame any of our young ones who choose to pursue a better life outside their country. But we must take responsibility as leaders, the government, the private sector, and the entire ecosystem to put in place measures to attract and retain our youth in Africa. And I have witnessed the true potential of our African youth in the work we do at the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Since 2010, when my wife and I founded the Tony Elumelu Foundation and seeded it with $100 million, we have empowered over 21,000 young African entrepreneurs across all 54 African countries. These young men and women have gone on to collectively create over 1.5 million direct and indirect jobs and generated over $4.2 billion in revenue. And as I said earlier, in Cameroon alone, we have disbursed nearly $3 million, and these entrepreneurs are doing well. Not all 100%, but a significant number. And in future, they will surpass what some of us have achieved in the private sector. And that is the ambition, that is the intention, and that is the aspiration. This is proof that when we invest in our people, we unlock prosperity for all. By equipping our people with the right skills and resources, we will unlock the full potential of Cameroon's entrepreneurial ecosystem, and you do have plenty of it in this country. And the fourth is, let's turn Cameroon into an investment destination for private global capital. There's so much private global capital looking for the right investment destination. You have a lot of natural resources, and you have energetic young population. Let's convert this to a major economic advantage for Cameroon. Countries need to demonstrate their competitive advantage. They need to market themselves. Just as businesses need strategic marketing plans, so do countries. Focus on those areas of competitive advantage. Celebrate and champion them. And I must say that, certainly the Prime Minister, last night, if I were not already an investor in Cameroon, and an answer with the reception right from his office, the professionalism, the timeliness, punctuality, the ambience of the environment, both office and home, these are seemingly, they appear insignificant, but they go a long way in an investor making up his or her mind to invest in an economy. So our leaders must be the first chief marketing officers of a country. Just the way business leaders market their businesses, we must realize that in the 21st century, there's so much. Every country is looking to attract investors to their country. And those who are most prepared are those that receive the private global capital. There's a reason in Dubai, Dubai, tax is almost non-existent for workers because they want to attract people in. There is reasons people do certain things in the world because there's so much. The resources are limited, and nations and businesses need capital investment to come in. So it's the way you present your country and package your country that's critical. I believe that collectively, public and private sector leaders, if we remember this, so when we criticize for constructively, and because that's what helps the country, in protecting your country so that people will want to invest in the country. Public-private partnerships, the fifth. To me, public-private collaboration is essential for economic development and revitalization. Governments must recognize that the private sector is not a competitor, and that's why I like what is happening today. The Prime Minister is here in person, and engaging with the private sector leaders in the country, the real employers of labor in the country, because government per se does not create jobs. It's private sector that creates jobs. And even in private sector, small and medium-scale enterprises create the most jobs. And that's why we must continue to prioritize them as we prioritize and support the big businesses too. So this public-private collaboration, which I'm seeing here today, for the Prime Minister to create this level of time to be here shows a support by government. And we need to leverage this so that the partnership between the public and private is taken to the next level. Because in it, from its benefits, we will help create the economic prosperity that we deserve as a country. Governments must recognize, as I said earlier, that private sector is not a competitor, but a partner in economic development. Policies should not stifle businesses. Policies should enable and encourage business growth. Because businesses will help government achieve its priorities, its objective. If it's job creation, if businesses succeed, they'll create jobs. If it's infrastructure, you put the right policy in place, private capital will invest in infrastructure. So we need in Africa to begin to realize that. Again, as I said, seeing the interaction here, the Prime Minister in person here, head of government in person here, shows that Cameroon is embracing this. We need pro-business reforms that reduces bureaucracy. Bureaucracy kills business. We need pro-business reforms that reduce excessive taxation and accelerate the ease of doing businesses. I was discussing with someone last night, I think one of the ministers for economy, and I was saying to him, there's a reason you have quite a number of successful private sector leaders in Nigeria. And I'll tell him the story, the history. There was a deliberate policy to capacitize the private sector, to support the private sector. Our banks in Nigeria were very weak. We couldn't give significant loans. But then, under President Obasanjo's government, they decided to revamp the banking sector and increase the capacity of banking sector to lend. Private sector cannot do well if you don't have a strong banking system. No two ways about that. A strong banking system with capacity, and especially a banking system that has the African mindset. Because the risks that some foreign institutions will have, perception, is not the same as what African institutions will have. So when I have opportunities like this, because I believe that we need more successful private sector leaders across Africa, that is what we need. I encourage government to encourage and support private sector to succeed. Because when they succeed, the benefits and ripple effects, you can't even quantify it. And it gives hope to others. You know, today in Nigeria, we export cement. We have businesses that have cement plants in Nigeria, but at the time, we were totally dependent on cement. So this kind of policy, the president saying to someone, why do you keep importing? Why don't you look into setting up a local plant? And the president took the advice, and of course, there was a strong financial system to give loans. Loans that foreign institutions would never have given. Those local institutions took at risk because they have a better risk perception and understanding of issues. They funded it, and today, I'm sure you all know the person, it's a different level, okay? So we need more of this, but it has to be intentional, it has to be deliberate. It doesn't just happen by accident. So we need pro-business reforms that accelerate the ease of doing business and creating the right environment. These are some of the things that is a controversial thing, but when the president said speaking, he said 2025 is a new year, you know, a year of changes, etc. These are some of the things the new Donald Trump administration in the US is championing, which I personally have no objection to. And I'm introducing my businesses to Dodge. Some people are controversial, but we need to seek and drive efficiency. Efficiency helps in so many ways. So private sector, but we too in private sector, as government creates the right environment for us to operate in, we must also know that it is in our best interest. It's an existential call that we do well, we don't abuse the privileges, and we do well, and we realize that when we climb, we must not remove the ladder. That when we climb, we must let others climb also. This is one of the reasons This is one of the major reasons my wife and I decided in 2010 we have benefited so much. We're born and bred in Africa, done our business in Africa, and the least we owe the continent that has been so kind to us was to set up this foundation, put $100 million so that we can create better Tony Elumelus for Africa. And that is what, as private sector, we owe the younger generation and we owe the continent. And it is, for me, it's existential that we do so for our own self-interest in the long run. Together, we must build institutions that support long-term sustainable economic success. I say to our people, private sector leaders, my people, and government when I travel with them, we must always think long-term and not just the short-term, because in that mode, we can create policies that will help in the long to create a better outcome. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Cameroon, your great country, my second home, stands at a pivotal moment. As we gather here today to discuss the future of Cameroon's economy in a world that is changing rapidly, we should be honest about the challenges before us in the midst of global economic shifts and regional opportunities. I must say that some of the things I've observed since I came yesterday are quite encouraging. Last night at dinner in His Excellency's house, the Minister of Finance opened his phone and he showed in excitement to the Economic Minister. He said, "Can you see? Look at this, look at this." Then he showed it to the Prime Minister across the table. "Look at this, look at this." Then I said to him, am I allowed to see this you're showing around me? He said, "No problem." He showed it to me. And what was he showing to me? What was he looking at about 9 or 10 p.m. last night? The economic release about some countries, debt to GDP ratios and some other economic data and statistics. At dinner, the finance minister at 9, 10 p.m., I thought that was wonderful. Very, very commendable yesterday. So this is very, very important. These are things we need to do. I don't hear what you said. We must chart a bold and strategic path to ensure sustainable growth, job creation, and build economic resilience. The path to economic revival is within our reach, but it requires a collective commitment from the government, from our leaders, private sector, investors, and the Cameroonian people for this to happen. At Els Holdings, we believe in the 3 E's. We call it execution, enterprise, and excellence. I want to commend these philosophies to all of you. It applies to us in our private lives, business lives, and political leadership. Execution is pivotal to economic transformation. You can't think we can have this session for 10 days or 10 months. If we don't translate what we're discussing here to action, nothing happens. Execution is the discipline of getting things done, and done within an acceptable timeline, and also done with sustained excellence and professionalism. My life story shows what can be achieved in Africa, by Africans, and for Africans. The conversations we're having or catalyzing today are a call to action. And that action is the execution. My hope is that this message will inspire commitments, shape policies, and drive investments that will help build a more resilient, inclusive, and prosperous economy for Cameroon and Africa at large. Thank you, His Excellency, President Biya. Thank you, His Excellency, the Prime Minister and Head of Government. And thank you, my host number 1. It's been a wonderful experience being in your country in the past 24 hours. I like Cameroon, and I don't miss any opportunity to come again and again and again. Thank you. Let me not make it. Thank you, Excellency.